Good morning, Jessica and Siggy. Well, look at that beautiful sunrise. I am so happy that I'm out here. This is the life vest that I usually wear when I go kayaking or if I decide to float on the Yakima River. As you can kind of see behind me, there is white, and that's white everywhere. There is fog. It's very windy. I'm standing where the fire actually started, and yes, like Tracy did say, the fire moved on to 2 other houses. Now let's kind of walk along, let's see. And they haven't been able to use their jail facility since 2017, and actually this is part of the reason why. 30% of crash fatalities in Washington are due to distracted driving. So next time you get in your vehicle, make sure you put your phone down before you start your car. Firefighters put on all their gear to make sure they're capable of the real thing. Now this is just an extra 50 pounds that firefighters do have to add on to make sure that all of their skin is covered. And now that we're officially in the summer season, we are starting to see those temperatures outside increase.
Tonight, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife announces a change in the fishing rules starting today.
An award-winning children's book author is making appearances across the country to read her book to students and families.
I was about to tell our viewers that. You beat me to the point.
Gasoline. Most of us need it, but probably are not appreciating the rising prices.
Right now, we're experiencing high levels of demand for oil and gas.
Across the country, we're seeing rising inflation, causing many things like food and oil to skyrocket.
There's dealing with, I guess, pent-up demand coming out of the pandemic and wanting to get back out into the world again.
The rise in gas prices and other essentials are a domino effect from many different factors. According to Paul Turek, a state economist from the Washington State Security Department, new policies across America have partly slowed down the crude oil imports.
The intention of policymakers is to make things better, but sometimes they don't. They make things worse.
With a high demand for products and less workers or shipments coming in, Turek tells me what state economists are predicting is either rising inflation or a mild to medium recession.
Not really going to help a lot of people if the price of gas falls, but you don't have a job.
According to AAA, Washington's average gas price is $5.36. In Yakima County, it's been reported to be $5.21. But as you can see here, it's $5.49. That's higher than both. Locally, Yakima Valley hops have had its hop prices fall, but its third-party shipping companies have increased their costs.
Customers are so predisposed to free shipping with Amazon Prime that when they start paying for shipping, they don't understand why.
And shipping for other things also affected local businesses. In March of 2021, a 1,300-foot ship blocked the Suez Canal last year for 6 days. That caused refrigerated storage units to not be delivered in time for Yakima Valley hops.
There's just been such a pressure from COVID and on in the shipping industry that things are starting to break.
I do love cooling off in the water, especially with those really high temperatures that we're expecting this week. And if you do plan on floating the Yakima River, Kittitas County Fire and Rescue tell me that these rivers can be really unpredictable and can be dangerous. And you never know what kind of conditions could be just around the river bend.
You cannot predict what is around the corner on a river.
If you grew up in central or eastern Washington, floating the river during the summer is a must.
We're all going to be on floats and rafts, and we plan on, tying ourselves up all together so that we don't get lost.
But rivers can also be unpredictable.
We're just asking people to avoid getting into trouble in the first place.
That's why safety is extremely important. Deputy Fire Chief Rich Elliott from Kittitas County Fire and Rescue tells me a lot of the times alcohol and dehydration have a lot to do with bad accidents on the river.
We can't expect people not to, drink some alcohol, but don't drink to the point where you're under the influence.
When speaking with Nainan Wheatley, the owner of Real Adventures and Raft Gear Rentals in Kittitas County, she tells me in her 20-plus years in business, she has seen some bad accidents because of lack of safety.
We had one group that took a boat actually to the Natchez, and they came around a corner and hit a log jam and had a very serious accident.
That's why Nainan and Deputy Fire Chief Elliott stresses the importance of wearing life vests when on moving water.
A jacket is like a seatbelt in a car. The chances are you're not going to have an accident, right? But if you have an accident, if you don't have your vest on or your seatbelt in your car, you're more likely to get injured or worse.
We end up seeing 5 or 6 water-related rescues on a typical year, and 2 to 4 drownings a year is fairly common for us.
And if you don't know how to swim, do not go in the river.
Being out there without a life vest on and not knowing how to swim, in these conditions is a recipe for disaster.
Now, this is the life vest that I usually wear when I go kayaking or if I decide to float on the Yakima River. Now, this life vest I do try to wear as tight as possible, like I showed you in the story. And you want to make sure that you're wearing this just like a seatbelt, because that can help save your life.
This is an adult issue that our students should not have to be dealing with, and they are.
The Toppenish High School Cerna investigation, which looked into married couple Johnny and Bertha Cerna, the former vice principal and secondary English teacher at Toppenish High School, has been closed by the Yakima County Sheriff's Office. The two were accused of providing drugs and alcohol to minors, as well as having sexual relationships with minors.
We had difficulty talking to basically anyone from the school district.
A heated school board meeting was held on February 15th following the cold investigation.
They, being the people of power, choosing to prioritize partying, escapism, nepotism, abuse, and debauchery over education. Please don't let our children think that they are a number for our system. They are sacred. We are sacred. Not ships to be sunk, or balls to be caught, kicked, or dumped, or tripped.
Many people in the community have been openly complaining about the way the school board handled the investigation.
There have been things that have happened over the past that created the atmosphere and culture in which they were able to do what they did.
In a previous phone call earlier in February, Yakima County Prosecutor Joe Brusick told me that he had sent back the Cerna case to Yakima Sheriff's Office for further investigation.
The prosecutor would like us to do some more investigation in order for him to charge. At this time, he declined to make any charges. Detective Reyna talked with his supervisor and realizing that there's a difficulty that the people that the prosecutor's office wants us to talk to are unwilling to talk to law enforcement.
Since the lead detective has now decided to close the case, I have tried to follow up with the prosecutor, but he did not return my numerous calls. And many people in the Toppenish School District tell me that they don't want to speak because of fear.
I am scared for my job.
We're scared of retaliation.
Yeah. It did make me feel a little unsafe because it's like they weren't doing anything about it. And it's also worse that it just ruined our school's reputation, because now that's all people think about when they think Toppenish. Oh, they had those 2 teachers with all these allegations, and they still were on the school board or the staff for so long.
So now many people are turning to the board asking John Cerna Sr., Johnny's father, to step down as superintendent.
I would like to see Mr. Cerna step down. I don't know that he needs to be fired, but I think if he refuses to step down, the board should insist that he does.